Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, which today is at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena because the Predators are in action tonight, hosting John Hines and the Minnesota Wild. How do you think he's going to be met with tonight? What kind of reaction from the Preds fans, D-Mase?
Wow. I think it'll be a
golf clap?
I think it will be respectable. I think our fans are respectable. Now, when you get inside the game and you start playing, yeah, boo them all you want to.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're going to do something at the beginning or in the middle. It's going to be, I think it will be respectable. I think it will be hand claps and, whatnot. And it's not going to be a, yes.
John.
It's not going to be that. But
No,
I
it will
think
not.
I think we have classy fans. So, they may.
Yeah, just a sweet little, cute little golf clap.
Or
just
snap.
All right, get on with it. Yeah,
Do that.
a snap. Just a little bit of a, oh, wow, he's back.
Yeah.
We'll be at the game tonight, so I'm excited to see what the reaction will be from Preds fans. Excited to see what Willy thinks. We'll get his perspective on that. Willy's wrapping up at morning skate, so he'll join us shortly. Predators in action tonight. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. All of your pregame action starting at 6 p.m. We'll also hear from Elliot Friedman at 1 p.m. Get his thoughts on what he's seen from this red-hot Predators team going for 7 wins in a row. Knock on wood. Not going to jinx it. But I want to start on – before we start, D-Mase, I want to hear about your day yesterday.
Oh, yes. I was I drove the lead car, the pace car. In yesterday's parade.
It was a Mustang?
It was a Mustang Mach 1. I believe that's what it was, a Mach 1. And beautiful car. Beautiful car, I tell you. I texted my son. I FaceTimed him. And just to show him the car. And I was in the car with Mike Organ as well. But I took a picture of the car, sent it to my son there. He was like, oh, my goodness. It's a Mach 5. How fast does it go? And then I FaceTimed him. He was like, can you go fast? I'm like, Derek, I can't go fast. I mean, there's a police in front of me. And it's
can't
a
just
parade.
skirt past the police car.
I can't just skirt past the police car. But it was a wonderful time. I enjoyed every bit of it. Thanks to everyone that helped put this together. At least for me to be able to go out there and just enjoy the moment. I'm not going to say I grew up watching NASCAR because I didn't, but I respect the longer I've been here covering sports. I respect the sport. It is a sport. When I was a kid, I didn't think it was a sport. But try driving those cars, for hours.
Yeah.
It is a sport, I tell you that. It takes a lot.
Sport
Exactly. So I want to thank, the Nashville Super Speedway for allowing me to, be out there and be a part of the parade. It was, up Broadway, came back around and went down to Mumbrium and back in front of the Music City Center.
Such a cool backdrop.
Yeah,
Such
it was
a cool
great.
experience.
It was great. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I would do it again if they asked me. So thank you to all those who put it together. I put up pictures and everything else. You can, go to my my Instagram and you can see a lot of it. So I enjoyed every minute of it. It was fun. I wish they would have let me really drive the car.
Rev the engine
up.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to so bad. But
push over 200.
Exactly. Oh, I would have tried.
If you get that one opportunity, you don't get many opportunities like that.
Exactly.
Pedal to the metal.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good experience. Shout out to
Thank
the
you.
Nashville Super Speedway. Maybe next year. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe one of these days I'll.
I don't think they're going to let you.
Maybe not, but a girl can dream. But a girl can dream. Anywhere can be a racetrack if you really put your mind to it.
Yeah, you're right about that.
All right, let's get into it because we are just a couple of days away from the Tennessee Titans hosting the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. And always like to look at TD's practice recaps, Paul Kaharski's, all of our local media. They'll post updates from practice and videos from practice. Since they do start practice in the middle of our show, we're not able to be there. I always like to catch up to see, what are the updates, who's out there, who looks good, who might not be out there, who's coming back, who's returning. TD tweeted out a video of Will Levis. And you can find that video on his Twitter at tdavenport_NFL. He posted a video of Will Levis walking very gingerly. He was rolling out, and it was kind of awkward. It looked like, whether it was his foot or his ankle, it looked like he was in pain. And that concerns me. It concerns me for a lot of reasons. It concerns me because this really has been our concern about Will Levis ever since he took over. It's been our concern about the quarterbacks in general, whether it's Will Levis, whether it's Ryan Tannehill, whether it's Malik Willis behind this offensive line. I mean, it already got Ryan Tannehill hurt, and now, just based off of this video. Now, I'm not reporting anything. I don't know what the deal is with Will Levis, but it looked like he was dealing with a little something. How concerned are you about Will Levis?
I am concerned because he's getting, pushed around, knocked down, beat up. I wonder if it has anything to do with 2 games ago when he took that kind of awkward fall when he went to
Tampa Bay.
I think it was Tampa when he went to scramble, and it was kind of an awkward sort of – it seemed like he had hurt his knee, and he ran for a couple of yards. I think he ended up getting the first down. He got up. He was limping, I think, throughout that game. But they never said anything else about it after that. I think he may have mentioned it in the post-game presser, but it did seem a little – that play seemed a little weird. I thought he hurt his knee, but he ended up getting back up and walking off. So it could be contributed to that, or it just could be, late in the season, he's getting beat up and pushed around and knocked down, and you may have a tweaked ankle or something like that. So, but I am concerned moving forward because it's not going to. It doesn't seem like it's going to get better, meaning the offensive line. And if he's going to continue to take hits like that, I think Tim Kelly's going to have to really sort of put his offense together. And not to say that he's not doing that, but he's really going to have to be conscious of the offensive line because the last thing you want to do is get this young man hurt.
And he is listed on the injury report. He was limited yesterday with an ankle. I believe it was the Tampa Bay game where there was a video of Will Levis's ankle getting taped up on the sideline because he got up and he winced a little bit. And remember, he was dealing with a foot at Kentucky. He had the foot injury, underwent surgery for his foot. So at first, I thought that it was re-aggravation of the original foot injury listed as an ankle. And the way that he was kind of walking yesterday in practice, just based off that video we saw from TD, it looked like an ankle thing. So one thing that I'm concerned about is getting your now starting quarterback hurt. I mean, obviously, that puts you at a disadvantage. The second thing is if you put Will Levis out there with a hobbled ankle, and of course you can wrap it up, you can do as much as you possibly can, that limits his mobility.
Yeah.
And the mobility aspect behind this offensive line is paramount. We saw that with Ryan Tannehill whenever we saw his ankle get a little bit banged up, and it was basically a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And behind that offensive line, you can't afford to do that. And part of what makes Will Levis, I think, so impressive and so effective is the fact that he can escape pressure, that he can use his legs to extend plays, that he can step up in the pocket and try and evade a sack. So that worries me if he cannot move himself.
Yeah, it should be. I'm sure the Titans are going to closely monitor it because I don't even think you throwing Ryan Tannehill back out there, makes anything even any better because now you got a guy that's coming off a high ankle sprain and putting him back out there in that situation with the ability for him to, injure that ankle again like he did last year. He had a high ankle sprain. He went back in the game, went back as the starting quarterback a few games later, and what did he do? Re-aggravate the ankle, so much so that he had to have the tightrope surgery. So you don't want to put him back out there in that same situation, but you don't want to have your young quarterback out there, getting beat up and everything else. So I'm sure there's going to be a big emphasis on protecting Will Levis. Maybe some quick passing, getting the ball out of his hand very quickly, being strategic about, how they do their play action or deep passes. I'm sure a lot of it will come off of the play action of Derrick Henry or Tajay Spears.
And that's how this offense
Exactly.
is really predicated. That's how the meat and potatoes of this offense. But I do wonder at this point, and I don't know the severity of Will Levis's ankle. Again, we're not able to be out at practice. I see one video on TD's Twitter that shows him a little hobbled, and he is listed on the injury report. But at this point, who gives the Titans the best chance to win? Is it Will Levis or is it Ryan Tannehill? And I know a lot of you listening are probably thinking, it doesn't matter. Winning games doesn't matter. Just tank, get a better draft pick. It matters to them. This coaching staff wants to win football games. We're seeing the toll that it has taken on Mike Vrabel, the questions about his job security, the questions about his relationship with Ran Carthon. I'm sure it's taking a toll on that entire locker room. Like, losing is hard. They want to win football games. So while your perspective might be tank and move on, get a better draft pick, that's not their perspective. So the question that they are asking themselves is, who gives us the best chance to win?
I still believe, and I'm not going to, come off of it. I think Will Levis gives them the best opportunity to win.
I agree.
I think it would be good for the Titans to get more wins under this young guy's belt, so he can gain more confidence. Not that he's not gaining the confidence as he plays, but winning, gives you that extra, sort of extra breed or extra feel of, okay, I know what I'm doing. We know what we're doing. I can win. We can win with me as quarterback. So the players are not thinking about tanking because, players, I don't think, at least I have not been involved or experienced a player saying, you know what, man, let's just tank.
Let's get a better draft pick.
After you get, so far in the season, you're not going to playoff. Man, let's just tank. Let's get a better draft pick. Well, that's not – if it was your team, then maybe you can think that way. But it's not your team. You got a job to do.
Yeah.
And, players don't think that way. Players don't go out there, oh, let's tank, because your job is on the line. You go out there and purposely drop passes or purposely throw interceptions or miss tackles or line up in the wrong position too many times, you're going to be gone. You're not going to even be here when the tanking and rebuild starts to, happen. So players don't think that way. We go out there and we play. We are when you get in situations like this, a lot of guys are playing for their jobs. A lot of guys are playing for contracts. So to me, if not anything else, those are your motivations. You're auditioning for 31 other teams, and you're trying to get a pay raise. So that should make you go out there and play hard. You going out there not giving it 100% does nothing for you, nor does it, do anything for the team, positive anyway. So when it comes to players, we go out there and play. We don't worry about, what draft pick we're going to get. I don't think I never experienced a guy say, man, we may get the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick or the top 10 pick. No, we don't want a top 10 pick.
That's embarrassing.
We want to be at the bottom of the first round.
Before.
Exactly. We want to be at the bottom of the first round, which, in my career, that's where we were most of the time. We were at the bottom, the bottom half of the NFL in picking, unless we made some trades and was able to, move up. But for the most part, I think in my 15 years, we may have had 2 or 3 that were top 15 picks, based upon our record. Now, we may have moved up because of, some trades or something like that, but based upon our record, I think the worst record I had here was a 4-12 season, I think. Or 6-10, or 4-12 might have been the worst. That was the 04 season when everyone was hurt. But other than that, we were always either, above that 500, or we were one of the better teams, in the National Football League. So I never experienced that.
Which is a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Not have to experience that. But this is what frustrates me, D-Mase, and this is something that we've been pounding on the table for so long. Since training camp, since the beginning of the season, But now it's rearing its ugly head again, and that was not doing enough to address the offensive line. It makes me frustrated that they didn't do more. They didn't invest more in the offensive line when we knew after how bad the offensive line was last season, it needed some serious TLC. And I know you took an offensive lineman with your first-round pick. It needed more than that. That it was so bad in training camp. They didn't do more to address it, and it has been so bad since then. And now, here you are. Your starting quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill, got injured. And now your backup, now your starter, Will Levis, your quarterback of the future, supposedly. Right now, I think it's your best asset that you have on your team, your most valuable asset. Now this offensive line may have gotten that quarterback hurt. So it frustrates me whenever Mike Vrabel tells the media, I think there's too much being made about how bad the offensive line is. Or when I asked Mike Vrabel about a month or so ago, why wasn't there more done to address the offensive line in the offseason? And he said, well, I disagree that we don't struggle blocking. We just can't get in drop-back passing situations. Like, Mike, what? Don't you get up there and tell us, the media, and tell the fans that there is too much being made about how much the offensive line is struggling when you've gotten two quarterbacks hurt now.
Yeah,
and of course we don't know the severity of Will Levis, but
I think that was his answer, and this is only my opinion. His answer, when you answer it in that fashion, it's like, I know more than you know. That's basically what it is. When in actuality, no, because what we are addressing is what we're seeing.
Yes.
And it's a bad offensive line. And
it's not that hard to see how bad
exactly.
it is.
And when you say we don't want to get into too many, what did he say?
We just can't get in drop-back situations.
Dropbacks. Isn't the NFL?
That's part of the
that's
job.
Part of the job. Okay. If you're trying, if this is a play on words, drop back meaning getting up underneath center and drop. How many times do you do that anyway? How many times does NFL teams do that anyway? A lot of teams like to be in this pistol or just shotgun. Out of shotgun, because this is what these kids are learning in college. So they want to allow these young men to feel comfortable when they get in the league. So a lot of stuff is done out of out of shotgun. Just say where the quarterback's not
under center.
Absolutely. So when you say, well, drop back, well, how many teams do drop backs? So what you're saying essentially, you can't pass the ball? Is that what you're telling me?
So the offensive line cannot do half of what their job is.
Exactly.
You run block and you pass protect.
Half your job is to pass protect.
And you can't even run block.
Yeah,
half of your running comes from Derrick Henry just finding holes and turning nothing into something.
Exactly. So I think that was it. The answer was, at least in my opinion, it was, I know more than you. We'll be fine. When in actuality, Mike, y'all are not fine.
Don't give me that.
Yeah, this offensive, and I understand why he did it. I get it. I know. I understand it. You don't want to throw the offensive lineman under the bus. They're part of the team. I get it, but don't try to, don't sprinkle coffee on me and tell me it's raining. Okay, I can feel it, I smell it, and it's a little hot. I know it's coffee.
I know what my eyes see.
Exactly.
It's the same thing like when Mike Vrabel, I forgot who asked the question. It may have been Jared. The question was asked about what makes you think that you have the right coaching staff in place, and he said, because I played in this league. Well, I mean,
a lot of people have played
in this league. You played in the league.
Exactly, but that don't mean you always get it right when it comes to coaching staff. There are a lot of coaches that have either played in this league or been in this league a long time. And they always find themselves doing what? Recycling coaches.
Hiring and
firing. So, again, that's one of those, answers, I know more than you.
It sounds like a very parent because I said so answer.
Because I said so, yeah.
Like,
so that's what he should have just said.
Yeah, because I said so.
I said so, yeah.
Yeah. So that is the incredibly frustrating thing that ever since the beginning, when it seemed like is the Eagles' backup left tackle, that's your master plan at addressing this offensive line that needs some serious renovation. The things that seem very obvious from the beginning, those things aren't getting addressed. And then now here you are. You traded up in the second round to take who you believe to be your quarterback of the future. And now he is put in a difficult situation. Now he finds himself on the injury report because he cannot seem to stay upright
Yeah.
because this offensive line can't protect for him. It's incredibly frustrating. But when it comes to the game Sunday, I heard Robbie and Joe talking about this morning. I said, what's the best thing for Will Levis? What's the best decision for Will Levis? I think it's still playing on Sunday. And I don't know the severity of his injury. Again, the injury report and videos from practice can really only tell us so much. But I think playing Sunday is still the best thing for Will Levis, and I still think it's the best thing for this team.
Yeah, I believe it is, and it depends on the severity of the ankle. If he's able to go out there and practice and do much of what they're asking him to do, then he's going to play Sunday. I don't think they want to get into this, back and forth. If he's hobbled a little bit, it's a part of football. It's a long season. It's a grueling sport and a very physical sport. But if he's still able and capable at doing his job, then okay, go out there and play. We can minimize the pain a little bit with a shot or something like that. But other than that, if you can go out there and you can do your job the way you want to do it, then we're going to put you at quarterback. Because my thing is, you don't put Ryan Tannehill back underneath center unless you have nobody. Like it's apparent that he can't play, meaning Will Levis. Like that's the only way you put Ryan Tannehill. And even in that situation, honestly, other than I look at the beginning of the season, I look at what Ryan was able to do and what he wasn't able to do. I mean, he had some bad games, not interception-wise, but missing the guys and guys dropping passes. Overthrows, yeah.
Underthrows.
He's had games like that. But I think he was okay considering what was in front of him.
I didn't think that he was the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than the Saints game. He was very much the problem.
He was the problem in the Saints game.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think he was the problem. But, okay, moving forward, if you throw him back in there, a guy that will not be with this team next year, if he gets hurt again, that's just something I think if he wants to continue to play, he needs to think about, he and his agent.
Then you are going to continue to go down the revolving door of the quarterbacks of this guy's hurt, now that guy's hurt, now this guy's healthy enough, put him in there, and then he gets hurt again, because that's just how bad this offensive line truly is. That's how paralyzing this offensive line is to this team. So that is where we're starting today. Will Levis, a video on TD's Twitter yesterday, looking a little bit hobbled. He is listed on the injury report, was limited in practice with an ankle injury. But coming up next, maybe some positive injury news, but how much can we really expect? How much are we really holding our breath, waiting for more to come from this guy? We'll get into that coming up next, and, of course, into your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, live out here at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Hey, listen, I need to tell you about our partners, Zen Sports. And they are launching their new introductory promotion available to all new customers in Tennessee. That's right, the No Danger First Wager. When you sign up for a Zen Sports account, you will receive up to $1,000 No Danger First Wager. When you place your first bet on Zen Sports, you will be reimbursed for the amount of your bet if it loses, up to $1,000. Plus, Zen Sports has launched a new VIP program for the premier bettors of Tennessee. If you think you might qualify, then listen up. Zen Sports is hosting a VIP tailgate and game experience on December 3rd, this Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the Titans versus Colts game. Let's go, Titans. That means food catered by a renowned chef, unlimited adult beverages and non-adult beverages, but adult beverages, and a private room for bet placing and mingling with fellow VIPs. So all you VIPs can get together and talk VIP stuff, okay? The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for the VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. No other sports book will offer you a premier sports betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support and bigger and better action than Zen Sports. So what are you waiting for, people? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Imagine training the field and protocol. Are you hopeful that he can take another step in getting back on the
I'm
field?
hopeful for a lot of things, Jim, but I'll just wait, and see whenever the player, or in this particular case, Traylon, clears the protocol, then we'll practice with him. No different than if that was anybody else, or hopeful that we get all our players back that aren't playing right now. So whatever that is, that's what it'll be. And that's all I can say, just because that's how you're supposed to operate within the protocol.
Whatever it is, that's what it'll be. I might put that on a poster.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's my slogan.
Whatever it is, that's what it is.
That's
Cool.
what it will be.
Got it.
Like that.
Noted.
Simple.
Thanks, Mike. But that was Mike Vrabel last week on Traylon Burks. And the way that Mike Vrabel answered that, I thought, this doesn't sound very promising for Traylon Burks. But Titans back out of the practice field yesterday, and so was Traylon Burks. He was limited yesterday, still in concussion protocol, but just based off of my understanding, there's different kind of tiers to concussion protocol, that you can still be in concussion protocol but be cleared to practice. And then once you get evaluated throughout a couple of practices, that's when you get fully cleared to be 100% a go for a game. So Traylon Burks was out of practice yesterday. Again, looking at TD's Twitter, some clips that he put out there. Traylon Burks was in drills, looked I'm no doctor, but looked fine to me based off of some of the clips that TD put out there. Don't know if he's going to be good to go for the game, but the Titans will be back out in the practice field today. But I'll be honest with you, D-Mase. I don't expect anything from Traylon Burks at this point, and I hate that I feel that way, and I hate that we've gotten to this point with Traylon Burks because he is so uber talented. He simply just cannot stay healthy. I can't expect anything from him, and anything that you do get from him is just net positive at this point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the last 2 seasons. He's been hampered with some type of injury, whether, lower extremities, knees, or whatnot, concussion.
Now 2 concussions.
Yeah, 2 concussions
2 seasons.
back-to-back. That's not good. So it's unfortunate for the young man that he hasn't been able to find him, to be consistently on the field. And then what compounds that even more, that when he's on the field, he's not as productive as many want. He's dropped too many passes. And when I say too many passes, I think he has, 4 drops, somewhere around there, 3-4 drops.
He doesn't get targeted very often.
Yeah, but that's just too many for a guy of his caliber. I mean, a guy that has his potential. And they've been just lack of concentration drops. They've been wide open drops. It hadn't been highly contested drops. They've been
like hit you in the hands and you can't hold on to it.
You just wide open sitting there and you can't hold on to it. And that's another thing. I mean, he just hasn't, been targeted enough even when he played. And that falls on Tim Kelly. It falls on Tim Kelly. And it falls on the quarterback trying to find other options outside of D-Hop. Because, regardless of how the season ends up for this team, you want, as a quarterback, to know you can rely on other guys. You get used to throwing to guys. You get a rapport. You build that rapport. I know how he likes, for me to throw the ball here, or I know how the quarterback would like for me to be in position here and finding the holes. If you don't target a guy enough, then you don't build that rapport. I looked at this yesterday, day before yesterday, and I'm looking at it again right now. DeAndre Hopkins has 83 targets, which that's nothing wrong, and he should be a guy that is targeted the most. Why? Yeah. Because he's proven in his league that he's going to catch the ball and make plays for you. So I'm not talking about his targets, but when the next guy is only next receiver, not tight end, the tight end and the running back are the 2 guys that are targeted the most outside of DeAndre Hopkins. Nick Westbrook-Akine, 36 times. Chris Moore, 20 times. Traylon Burks, 18 times. He's played 5 games, and you've only targeted him 18 times.
That's your first-round pick.
That's your first-round pick. That's embarrassing. That's truly embarrassing, and that's something that they need to take note of. Now, listen, they can't do anything about him not being on the field. They have no control over that. But when you're on the field, he's floated too many times. I've said this over and over, and I've repeated it. they allow him to float too long in the game. And then you try to give him the ball in the second quarter or the third quarter. And it's like, dude, he's floated. These reverses you give him, no. Throw the man the ball. Allow him to catch the ball and get into a rhythm. Receivers like getting into a rhythm. Mm-hmm. So allow him to do that. Allow guys like Chris Moore, who has proven that they can make plays for you. Allow them to get into a rhythm. You're not allowing these other pass catchers to get into a rhythm and go out there and then all of a sudden, listen, they got to do their job.
Yeah.
When the ball comes to them, I don't care if you hadn't been targeted all game. If they target you in the fourth quarter, you need to catch the ball. I understand that part. But for a receiver, I have to feel like I'm a part of what's going on and not just a guy out there blocking.
Yeah.
That wears on a guy. Vrabel could say all he wants to about, guys doing a great job at blocking, and they are. But it's like, why am I going to go out here and do whatever it is, said job, if you're not going to pay me for said job? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm working my tail off, for however many years, and you don't give me a raise, so why am I doing this job? I'm doing great when you give me an opportunity, so why am I doing this job? Same thing with Chris Moore. He's gone out there and he has proven he can make a big play for you. He's working his ass off, blocking, doing all these things you're asking him to do. You even rave about him, but you don't target him in the game. That makes a receiver like, dude, what am I doing here then? So they're going to have to find a way moving forward, allowing D-Hop to still get his touches, but allowing these other guys, the other receivers, to feel as if they're a part of the game.
And it is tough, too, when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback who's trying to get acclimated and comfortable into the game. It's not – I don't think it's as easy to tell Will Levis, hey, we're going to have to get some of these guys involved versus a Tannehill. That's like, look, yeah, I hear you. I got it.
Tannehill will know. Like, Tannehill, he's one of those quarterbacks, a veteran quarterback player. You're like, okay, this guy over here hadn't been targeted all day. Mm-hmm. I need to get him the ball at least once or twice.
Conscious awareness.
A veteran quarterback can do that.
Right.
A rookie quarterback, he's so just focused in on what the coaches are telling him to do. That's where he's going first, which leads to some of his mistakes. It's like, yeah, they're telling you to throw it over here, but sometimes you got to buck the system and know that this guy, just like on the single coverage to D-Hop on the post, where he could have hit him. If you'd have waited a little bit longer, he could have hit him, and it would have been wide open and probably a touchdown. No, but he's so zeroed in on what I have to do over here that he didn't even pay attention to the single coverage on the other side.
There was one thing you said that I want to get into, and you mentioned how a lot of Treylon Burks' drops were uncontested drops, maybe some more mental mistakes. Treylon Burks came into a really difficult position with the Tennessee Titans. And, you trade A.J. Brown. You essentially come in here as the next A.J. Brown. That's not an easy position to come into. You come in here and you're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be the go-to. Last year, there just wasn't enough around the entire offense to allow him to really thrive. And he was set back with injury, which, not his fault, but still your best ability is your availability. Now you come into year two. He put a lot of pressure on himself, which I think is obvious by how much commitment he showed in the offseason and staying here, taking the Cessna plane to make sure that he got back for non-mandatory OTAs, that he wanted to take that next step forward, that he could prove that he could be the guy, but keeps getting set back. Do you think that's kind of a mental thing for Treylon Burks that's maybe getting in the middle of him and his real potential, what he is expected to be here, was just that mental wearing on him of, I need to be the guy. Everyone expects me to be the guy.
I can see a bit of that happening, especially, in this situation where, he's fought his tail off to make sure that he's in football shape, NFL football shape, ready to go. That first season is always a difficult one, and I addressed that last year with him. Like, listen, you don't understand what these – like, some guys can, get it, go, hit the ground running. Some receivers can do that. I think Treylon could have did that, but, after you go through the combine and you go through these individual workouts, you're not working out to play a season. You're not. You're working out to position yourself to get a better –
to run fast in your underwear.
Yeah, you position yourself to run fast in your underwear and to get a bigger paycheck. That's essentially what it is. You drafted high, you get more money. So you work, for 8 months, not 8 months, but like 2 to 3 months on just doing that alone. You're not working on, being the best conditioned, athlete that you can be. You're working on specific things that will help you move up in the draft. And then once you get into camp, it's like, oh my goodness, this camp is hard. Like I forgot how hard, camp was. Why?
And I'm now a teeny tiny fish in a massive pond where I'm coming from my college where I was the guy.
Exactly. So when that happens, you struggle that first year, and injuries may get him. It may be a part of it, and that's what Traylon. He wasn't in shape. At least he wasn't in the shape he needed to be in to play in this league. He dealt with injury. So all of that sort of compounded, and you come back the next year, you do all this stuff, you're there every day, you're in shape, you're ready to go, and then you have an injury. And not even in a preseason game.
It's frustrating. It's
during practice, a joint practice with the Minnesota Vikings. It has to be frustrating on him because I'm sure, not necessarily from the people close to him, but if he has a social media or whatever, I'm sure there has been, on his feed, you were, A.J. Brown replacement, and they traded away A.J. Brown to get you, and you're not producing all this stuff. So I'm sure from a psyche standpoint that had to wear on, that has to wear him on him somewhat. Because, listen, Kevin Dyson went through it, when he got drafted in 98. He got drafted before Randy Moss, and then you saw all of the success that Randy Moss had, and you innately you feel the pressure like, man, this guy's having all this success and I'm not. It wasn't that he was playing bad. He just wasn't having the success. Two different offenses. He just and everybody always compared Dice to Randy Moss based upon the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, they were in two different offenses. Kevin Dyson was still a hell of a receiver, and had he not gotten hurt, he would have made a lot of plays for the Tennessee Titans. So I'm sure that's what Traylon Burks is going through. So I mean, that could be a part of it. But then again, I go back to guys are going to drop footballs, okay? But the problem is this: when you don't get targeted much and you drop a pass or two, now it gets magnified. Why? Because they're only targeting you, 2 times a game.
And they might only be targeting you 2 times a game because you can't hold on to football.
Well, that could be a part of it. I don't think that's a part of it. I just think for whatever reason, I don't know. They just hadn't gotten him. They hadn't gotten him the ball. And I don't want to, because it's not necessarily D-Hop's fault, but it is D-Hop's fault. In a sense, because he's the alpha dog in the room. You know what I'm saying? And he's the guy that deserves and he has proven I needed to be targeted. I need to be targeted because I'm going to catch the ball.
Because he makes plays.
Exactly. So that takes some of the food off of Traylon Burks' table.
Which I thought could be a good thing. That if you're dealing with this psyche of I have to be the guy of everybody's, you traded A.J. Brown for me and now everybody's expecting me to be A.J. Brown. Is that an unfair expectation? Absolutely it is.
But some guys don't handle that well.
And some guys don't handle that well.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders, can Traylon Burks ever be what this team expected him to be while he's here? Or is the pressure of being that guy here just too much for him? And we'll continue that conversation coming up next. I'll ask that same question to the callers, the texters, and listeners as well. When is it time to just say, hey, it's not working out here? We'll get into that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063, The Game. Be stressful. We all know it. We've all done it. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be. Caroline Fenton here for my friends over at Black Tie Moving. And when you choose Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. And their trained and dedicated team at Black Tie Moving is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the moving process. I moved with Black Tie Moving over the summer, and trust me, I've been through some pretty rough moving experiences. This was not the case at all. Black Tie Moving had fantastic customer service. They were completely open and honest about everything that I could expect. And the moving process was so easy and so simple, and I appreciated so much how much care they took into taking care of my things and my spaces. I cannot recommend them enough. So visit them at blacktiemoving.com or give them a call at 615-437-8401. That is 615-437-8401. And be sure to mention the promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, to score 10% off of your next move. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life with Black Tie Moving. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase for live out here at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. The Predators taking on John Hines and the Minnesota Wild tonight. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. Pre-game show starts right here on 102.5 and 106.3. The game right at 6 p.m. And you can join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and D-Mase at Teddy's Tavern this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. for our NFL pre-game show. They'll break down the Titans' Week 13 matchup against the Colts and give you the latest updates before the game. Our NFL pre-game show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Beast Unleashed. D-Mase, unless you have some thoughts?
Let's go to the phone.
Let's go to the phones. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Tommy Texan says, D-Mase, J.J. Watt said on his Patriots show that when the season is lost, players do start thinking about the offseason and more personal stats because they know the Super Bowl is out of reach. They do want to win, but in reality, their personal stats become a priority on the fact of their job. Did you play with guys like that on any team or any me players and not just team players? I feel like this Titans team cares less than Vrabel does about winning now that we're out of it. I think he's lost this team.
See, that's kind of tricky. Because, when you start talking about guys and their stats, it is a me, but that me ultimately affects the we.
I think there's a me and a we,
and that's
no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to allude to. Mm-hmm. Like, regardless if we're winning or losing, there's a me that will affect the we. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't want the me to just like engulf the we. But if I play well and I am one of the marquee players, then more than likely we are going to benefit from it and we are going to win. Mm-hmm. So when you get in this point of the season and that, your season is you're not going to the playoffs, there is that flip of, and I think I did mention that, of guys playing for their jobs, mm-hmm. guys playing for contracts. Guys playing for incentives. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't, when it starts to overshadow and, sort of infiltrate the locker room, then that's where the problem lies. Mm-hmm. You don't fault a guy for wanting to go out there and do the best that he possibly can because he understands and knows that if that happens, I get a bigger paycheck next year. So you can have guys on your team that, that want to, up their stats. You can have that, but but it can't disrupt the locker room. It just can't disrupt. It can't be the theme of the locker room. It can't be the talk of the locker room. When we get on the field, yes, I want to catch the ball every time. Every time you throw it to me, critical situations, I want to be the one to catch the ball. Why? Because I've proven that. So when things like that happen during the season, it's not about necessarily, it's about me, but it's about us also. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do to help us win football games? Well, either as a running back, give me the ball more. As a receiver, let me catch the ball more. As a quarterback, it's like, let me throw the ball more, do some things. So sometimes the I is not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It's when it starts to affect the we. That's when it becomes bad. All these guys in the NFL, I don't care who they're I guys, like me, but they don't allow, like if they don't get their numbers, they're not going to fuss about it. Mm-hmm. If we get the win, it's great. But if I play well, that means more times than not, we're going to win. Mm-hmm. So you can't fault a guy for being I want to say a me person, but if the me helps we, then we're good.
And being concerned about yourself and your future and your contract
exactly
doesn't make you a me guy. It's when you put your contract above the team, when you let the money that you make or the contract that you do or do not have get in the way of doing what you can to help the football team win games. So there is an element of me in every team sport. If I need to do what I have to do to help the team win. It's not always about me, but I have to think about me.
Well, coaches say it all the time. Listen, do your job. Mm-hmm. Whatever your job is, do it. Don't worry about everybody else's job.
Take care of yourself.
Exactly. Take care of it. So I think this whole me thing has been blown out of proportion. I think this me is it's been used so many times as a bad thing. When in actuality, it's not a bad thing. If this guy doesn't perform, what happens to him? He get cut.
Yeah.
He got to go to another team. You know, he doesn't get a new contract. So don't let these people in these professional leagues make you think that it's not about me, because the head coach is about him and winning football games, but he need y'all to do it. Quarterbacks, it's about them and going out there and making sure the team, you know, is in the best position possible. Quarterback, receiver, it's about me, but I got to make sure I do my job so then it affects everybody else in a positive way. We're going to get a win out of it more than likely. If I go out there and the quarterback throws me, you know, 2 9 balls, if I catch both of them, great for me, but it also, what is it? Great for the team.
Right.
So I think people throw that. Sometimes coaches use that, and that's not really the deal. Like, all these guys at one point were me guys. Why? Because they wanted to get a contract. That's basically, if I play well, I'm going to get a bigger contract.
Right.
If I don't play well and the team plays well, they're not going to give me a new contract. They're going to ship me off somewhere else. So why can't I, you know, be about me playing well in order to help the team?
Mike Texan says, D-Mase expressed concern previously that Burks doesn't have that dog in him. Do you believe that?
I don't think I've ever questioned whether he had the dog in him. And if I did, I think that was last year. I don't think I've ever questioned it this year. And if I have, you know, I stand corrected, believe me. I think he does have it in him. He just hasn't been on the field enough. He just hasn't been in a position where he's been able to consistently display that. Like, if he was catching 4, 5, 6 balls a game, then I think you would see more of his personality come out. And I'm not saying he has this boisterous personality. I'm just saying you will see what many saw at Arkansas. And that's why the Titans
When he's
drafted him.
blowing past defenders.
Bullying people,
Yeah.
running up. Yeah, that's, you know, we would see more of that. But, you know, I think he does, but, you know, he just has to be out there more.
Which is also in and of itself a problem.
Exactly. It's
that
a
he's
problem
not out there enough.
Absolutely.
All right, let's pick some underdogs coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
D-Mase, we are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, which today is Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. The Predators welcoming back John Hines tonight as they take on the Minnesota Wild. And John Hines' first road game as the head coach of the Minnesota Wild. Puck drop at 7 o'clock, pregame coverage starting at 6 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. It is now time for silly underdog picks. I will send it over to our commissioner, Willy D.
Willy, oh Willy D, Willy D.
Ah, yes, harmonize with me, everybody. Welcome in to Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We're moving down the home stretch of the season. Derek Mason in command. It is very, very close for second place, but that's about it. D-Mase is trying to move on to a title. There are 4 games remaining. You've got this week, championship week, 10 games to pick from, and then a bowl draft of 3 games each. So everybody's got to do the math in their head to see if they can catch Derek Mason, who leads with 59.5 points right now, a commanding lead. So let's quickly look onto our online contest as we get things started. First off, let's give kudos to Barbara Handler from Smyrna, Tennessee, who won in a big tiebreaker. The key for her, with a bunch of people tying with 19 points, including, by the way, Kevin Wilson, who made it known to me downstairs, media relations person for the Predators. He goes, I won all 3 of my games. I tied for it.
Shout out to Kevin.
And he said, but I lost the tiebreaker. So Barbara beat him out from Smyrna. So congratulations to Barbara. But Kevin did want me to tell everybody that he is 12th in the season standing. So he's had a good year, as he normally does. He's a loyal player of the contest. So let's give you the most popular picks real quick. The most popular pick was Florida over Florida State. And no surprise there. That was a good, tough game. People wondering what was going on with Florida State's backup quarterback. So that was far and away the most. The second one, Kentucky over Louisville. And so 19% of the audience took that one.
What was that spread? 7.5.
So, yeah, that sounds about right. But, yeah, that was a big win for Kentucky in that one. All right, let's get to see how the insiders picked. Caroline had the first pick and did go with the Gators. Up 12-0, Caroline. You had to feel pretty good about that.
I was feeling very confident until I wasn't.
Still had a shot all the way to the end. Just needed a big stop there. Didn't happen. Florida State able to gut it out without their star quarterback, and that's a big storyline heading into this week. So Caroline drops to, like a lot of the panel, 1-12 on the season.
Not great. Not great.
Now, have we located Plaz? We were looking for the whereabouts of Plaz, and let me check with Nick. Have we found Plaz yet?
Still connecting.
Where in the world is George
Where
Plaster?
is Plaz? Okay, well, I know he had the big bowling event. Mace and I were over there for that one. Plaz took South Carolina. And by the way, Spencer Rattler just declared he's going to go to the draft. He was trying to get the last hurrah for the Gamecocks. They were 7-point home dogs against Clemson. Didn't quite happen. Clemson able to hang in there and get some wins down the stretch. They have not had a great year, but they're able to beat the arch rival.
And neither has South Carolina.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Chase McCabe, who is right now across the way at the NASCAR Big Media Day, so he is not present. He took Oregon State in the Civil War, a 13.5-point dog against Oregon. Oregon just, though, too strong. Oregon looks really, really good right now, and it's still not out of it for a championship. They are in the title game against Washington, and they took care of business against the Beavers. Then Kelly Holcomb had the next pick, Coastal Carolina, a 9-point dog against James Madison. So 2 straight weeks, people trying to pick against James Madison, but the Dukes pulled this one out. Is Kelly present and accounted for? Do we have anybody here?
Yeah, Kelly's here.
Okay. So, Kelly, you're kind of wondering where is everybody?
Well, yeah, I'm here, but I'm about to go on the air, but I'm still on Silly Underdog. So where's everybody at? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, so you're putting extra effort. You've not given up this title to D-Mase
I have not
yet.
given up, but is there any way that we can get, like in high school football, we can get a running clock with this thing, like some way? I don't know.
You're saying keep the tempo up. Let's go 2-minute drill, no huddle.
Yeah, and I tried to say something to D-Mase, but D-Mase big timed me the other night, when we were at the bowling event. I don't guess he saw me.
Oh, I don't think I saw you, Kelly.
Man,
Yeah, I was
no
talking to-
love.
Did you
for
try to big time
teammates.
Kelly? Is that
No,
what
I
happened?
would never big time Kelly.
I was sitting there talking to Willie, and I tried to look at Derek. Derek wouldn't even look my way, so he kind of big timed me, man. That's awesome.
How could you do that to a
Is
fellow
he busy talking to
participant?
fans?
Hey, I would
know.
never big time Kelly ever. Went out of my way to talk with Kelly had I seen him.
We were literally 2 feet from each other, and the dude just looked at me, and he just went on his way.
Hold on, well Kelly big time me because he saw
No,
me.
I was actually in a conversation, and you interrupted me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh boy, we're gonna have to check the tape. You know those new
exactly.
commercials now?
Yeah,
You
we
can
got
throw the
tape,
challenge
yeah.
flag.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get surveillance video
I'm gonna
over
throw
at the
challenge
Hermitage
flag.
Strike and
I'm gonna
Spare
throw it, yes.
and see what happened. So D-Mase had the next pick, and of course he said, "Look, I'm just going to give you guys a week off. I'm way ahead of this thing. Let's make it interesting."
Yeah.
He tried to select Pearl Cone. We told him you can't take a high school
Dang
team.
it, why not? They won, too.
And they did win, but I'm not sure they were actually an underdog. But they did win. So congratulations to the Firebirds going for
Yes.
it here, going for a title.
Absolutely.
Good luck to them. And he did take Michigan State, 21-point dogs against Penn State.
Wah, wah, wah. I don't even think I covered the spread.
D-Mase, there's a lot of Spartans in the portal right now.
Yeah,
There's a lot of Commodores in the portal.
You know who else is in the portal? DJU.
Yes, he's coming to state. He's coming to state. Bring him on, Coach Smith.
We got to
gonna
practice
need
our
him.
pronunciations if he's coming to Michigan State. And then finally, Mr. Sanders, Chris Sanders,
boy.
still looking for win number one, the defending champion. We were looking at the last year's title. Chris, you had 113 points last
That's
year.
a lot of points.
113.
He went from the penthouse to the outhouse very quickly.
Hey,
And
I
he took-
still believe I can win, man. I got a couple of more weeks left. I'm still in the hunt.
You got 4 games.
Yeah.
You got 4
yeah.
games, Chris. It can happen. I believe in
Good
you.
luck, Daryl. Good luck on that one.
Hold on. Has anybody ever gone undefeated?
Hey,
winless?
that's a bad word. hey, easy. Hey, you can't do that.
I don't think anybody's ever gone winless for a season. I think there have been people that have won just one.
I'm going to win this thing.
Okay.
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 Well, you'll have to
Is
start this
anybody
week.
120-point underdogs?
Well,
That's cool.
Chris tried the
That's cool,
Stanford
Carolina.
Cardinal, 26-point dogs at home against Notre Dame.
They was in
Came
it
up
for a
short,
minute.
so swinging big as he normally does.
Hey, I gave him all. That's all that matters.
That your the participation trophy, the kids, they appreciate your effort.
Yeah.
Chris.
It's the
You're
cheering.
setting a good example. You know, when you go through adversity, you keep your chin up, you keep fighting.
Hey, D-Mase, how you feel about the kids?
Man, damn the kids, man.
D-Mase, come on.
Y'all know I love
In
the
a good
kids,
way.
man. Y'all know I love the kids.
I know he know. I'm just messing.
All right. Let's commence because Kelly is on the clock here.
Yes.
So here's what we've got for Week 14. 10 games to pick from. Plaz has the
Ooh,
first pick. I have made contact with Plaz. Is he on with us, or he has texted me his pick?
Still trying to connect with him. It goes to
Okay.
voicemail.
Okay, then don't worry about it. He has texted me his pick, and so we will go from there. But we can go ahead and play the theme song just for
Don't
fun.
forget his music, man.
Kelly's like, we don't have time for his
We
music.
don't need it.
No. Abbreviate it. Stop right there.
Okay, you get the point. It's Plaz's pick. He selects Alabama, the 6.5-point dog. Not surprising. He's going that. He just, Plaz is well behind the pack here. He's got only 6 points. It's really a battle for second/third place unless Kelly can get a big chunk here. Alabama is a 5.5-point dog against Georgia in the SEC championship game with obviously a ton on the line there. Okay, so Plaz takes the tide. We move on to Chase McCabe, and Mr. Nick Frazier will be picking for Chase.
Yes, since Chase is not here, I'm not going to play the theme music as usual. Since it is the end of the season nearby, I'm going to go with a little Whitney Houston to take us back.
Let's get the people going.
Where do broken hearts go, everybody? Where do they go? I'll tell you where they go. They go to the Big 12, and they take they do take the opposite at 14.5, Oklahoma State.
We got 15.
I got 15 too.
Yes.
Okay, let's
it
take
is
that extra
15.
half there. 15.
So, Chase, looking for the Oklahoma State
Oh,
Cowboys.
man, I was thinking about that one. Tough.
15-point
Hard.
dogs against Texas. Texas has the pressure on. They must win, you would figure, to get in to the championship conversation. But if they do win, they definitely have the case.
How many points is Chase behind?
Well, Chase is right now with 3.5 points.
This is the comeback, Chase. If you're listening, this is the comeback.
56. He's 56 behind Derek.
It's happening.
Well, not with that pick.
You don't like your chances on that one. Okay.
No, I do, but it's not enough points.
Okay. Next up, Kelly Holcomb.
Bet not pick my team, Kelly.
33 points behind.
Country boy can survive.
Chris, you not going to win a game.
Okay, so I am going to pick. Just give me the Pac-12 championship. Give me Washington to beat Oregon. Okay. I don't think that'll happen this time. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, it's I thought about New Mexico State with Diego Pavia to beat Liberty, but I'm going to go with Washington.
That's what I'm getting.
Okay. Washington, despite being undefeated on the season and having a higher ranking, is a 9.5-point dog against Oregon, who is playing great right now. Interesting pick. Yep. Washington has been walking the tightrope here the last few times out. Some very close calls, but they are unscathed going into the Friday night championship game for the Pac-12. All right, we move on. D-Mase, the leader in the competition right now with 59.5, 33 ahead of Kelly. He's ready to go.
All right. We got a new coach. We're ready to start this thing back up in Spartan Land, down in East Lansing. So I'm going to go with, man, I thought about the New Mexico game. I don't want to take that from you, Chris. I'll let you have it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going back to the well. Give me App State once again. Give me App State once again.
Wow.
Once again.
Appalachian State is a 6-point dog in the Sun Belt title game against 10-2 Troy. Kelly Holcomb keeping close tabs on that game.
I'll be there.
I think Chris threw out that New Mexico and Liberty. Was like,
because he was
trying to use a Jedi mind trick. And he really wanted to pick App State. So I
don't want that. I wanted Iowa.
So for people that don't know, Kelly's son plays for Troy. So you've been watching. We've had some fun with you during this season, Kelly, your knowledge of the Sun Belt, but people probably don't watch. How have you liked the level of play? And obviously Troy's having a nice season.
There's some teams that are really good, like James Madison. You got App State, who's kind of ruled that division in a while, or Sun Belt for a while, and then Troy's come on the last 2 years. Then you got the Louisiana Monroes of the conference. So the top to bottom, it's different, but that's a good pick by Derek because it's been 5 games since Troy's beaten App State. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a tough game for those guys, but it's in Troy, so they'll get good home field advantage. So we'll see.
How long of a drive is it to Troy?
It's 5 hours, unless you go early in the morning, late at night, and you can make it in 4.5. You're rolling.
Okay.
Or I can make it in 3.5.
D-Mase, were you thinking about going down there?
No, but I said I could make it 3.5.
D-Mase could probably went running them jets, and he could probably get down in about 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes. Okay. All right. So Troy in the Sun Belt game at home against App State. That brings up our man Chris Sanders.
Let's go.
Going for his first win of the season.
Hey, easy. There we go.
It could be a miracle comeback. It could be a miracle comeback if Chris Sanders
there it
wins
is.
the title.
It can happen. I'm telling you.
This is the time of miracles.
It's not a movie, okay? It's not a kids. It's not a Disney movie, okay? Where Chris comes back and he wins. No, it just doesn't happen.
All right, here we go. Here's my pick. I got Iowa over Michigan.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Hey, I'm telling you.
Iowa can't score any points, right?
All they need is a couple. They got a great defense.
but you know they can't score any points. Like literally,
All they need is a
can't
block field goal or a block.
Their point total is 7.5, and the under is minus 160.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Love you guys. I might as well hang up now, huh?
The Hawkeyes of Iowa are a 21.5-point dog
I got
against
23.
undefeated Michigan.
You know what? Truthfully, Chris, I want Iowa to win because I don't like Michigan. You know that.
Me either.
So I want Iowa to win, but I do want you to go the season without a victory.
Oh,
I do.
What do you want more?
I think I want him.
That's cool.
I hate Michigan more.
I
So,
can't stand Michigan.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, I would rather Michigan lose.
Yeah, that is an Ohio State alum and a Michigan State alum. You have one common enemy,
Michigan.
and that would be the Wolverines.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
It's kind of like Met fans and Red Sox fans don't like each other, but they hate the Yankees.
Yes.
They both hate the Yankees, so they team
There
up
you go.
on that one. So, Chris, good luck with the Hawkeyes. That would be a major story if that happened. Holy cow. All right, that brings us to Caroline Fenton for the final pick of Week 14.
All right, I'm stuck between two, but I will take the larger point spread. Give me New Mexico State to upset Liberty.
Yeah, that's a good one.
New Mexico State is an 11.5-point dog.
11.5-point dog.
And they're playing in Lynchburg against undefeated Liberty, who continues to pile up wins, even in the post-Hugh Freeze era here.
Hugh Freeze, however, not collecting wins against New Mexico State.
That is an interesting one. Remember, New Mexico State went down to Auburn and smoked
Yes.
the Auburn
Smoked
Tigers.
them.
Smoked the Auburn Tigers. And yet, they're an 11.5-point dog against Liberty?
No respect
Wow.
None whatsoever.
for Diego Pavia and New Mexico State.
That is interesting to think about. Boy, Liberty trying to finish off the season undefeated. All right, so let's recap the picks for week number 14. Then we'll let Kelly get on his way. He's got a lot of things to do. He's got a lot of things to do today. All right, we start off with Plaz. Via text, selects Alabama, 5.5-point dogs against Georgia in the SEC title game in Atlanta. Chase McCabe, through our man Nick Frazier, takes Oklahoma State, 15-point dogs against Texas in the Big 12 title game. Kelly Holcomb trying to chip away, goes with Washington, undefeated on the year, but still a 9.5-point dog against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. D-Mase in command, trying to add to it, goes back to the well for a team that has gotten him a big win. Appalachian State, they're a 6-point dog at Troy in the Sun Belt title game. Chris Sanders trying to get on the board, going big, swinging big as he always does, staying with the philosophy. Takes the Hawkeyes of Iowa out of the Big Ten, 21.5-point dogs against the Michigan Wolverines, number 1 in the country. And finally, Caroline Fenton going with New Mexico State, 11.5-point dogs taking on Liberty in Lynchburg, Virginia. That game Friday at 6 on the CBS Sports Network. Remember, you can play this week. It's going to be an interesting competition with only 10 games. So make sure you pay attention to your tiebreaker. It did come down to a tiebreaker last week. So go online at thegamenashville.com and make your 3 picks. Those are our picks for Week 14. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck.
You can play, but what I have learned is that you might not win.
Again,
D-Mase, any message for the kids?
Happy Thursday to all the kids out there. And, participants, I hope y'all lose. Have a great weekend, but I hope y'all lose, okay? I want y'all to do great outside of Silly Underdogs pick.
Great in life.
Yeah, great in
Just
life.
not in the picks. Yeah. All right. Chris, Kelly, thanks for coming on. As always, we'll talk to you again here soon. We'll have a bye week next week, and then we'll have our 3-game bowl draft coming up right after that, before the bowl games get going.
Yeah, y'all go get out of here. Get out of here.
All right, appreciate y'all. I do have to say, if Chris Sanders is right, if the Iowa Hawkeyes pull off the upset of the year, I think we should just crown Chris the winner, no matter what, no matter the point total. Chris should just
I'm sure D-Mase is fine with that.
Yeah.
Not really.
He said that all season, that he would love it if Chris would pull off the upset over him all season long.
Part of you would be happy, though, if Michigan had the ship go down.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I wouldn't feel that bad because he still wouldn't be in a position to beat me.
I think that he should just win, though, de facto.
Yeah, you're right. So let's go, Chris.
Let's go, Chris.
Let's go, our Hawkeyes, the team that doesn't score any points. Yes.
The most boring brand of football to watch, but I love it. America's team.
Well, who's talking? My Spartans are horrible. So.
Yeah, but I think Iowa's whole plan is just, hey, we don't need to score points. I think Michigan State's just bad.
Iowa's first half team total is 0.5. So just putting that in perspective.
0.5?
Same with the second half.
Oh, wow.
If Iowa played LSU, Iowa might put up 35 points. That's how bad LSU's defense is.
Oh, wow.
All right, coming up next, a familiar face making his return to Bridgestone Arena. How do we expect him to be welcomed back by the fans? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
All right, good stuff for Pete there, and Pete will be joining the TV broadcast during our pregame show tonight. Just a little side note, let me tell you about Loan Pronto. As I've been telling you now, if you've got a vision for 2024 to get those finances ready to go, or if you just need some cash for the holidays, Loan Pronto can help you on either front through their Express Equity Line of Credit program. You can get thousands of dollars, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days through the equity of your home. And you can keep your primary mortgage intact, so don't worry about that. And Loan Pronto can process that equity into cash, access up to 95% of your home's value if that's how you want to go. And then you can take that money and address your needs, paying off credit cards or car loans or anything else that you need to pay. So just call Loan Pronto and get the process started. Most of the time, you don't even need to get a house appraisal. That's how easy it is now. Much more streamlined process. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
mean, Barry and I had talked, and we were going through a process with it, and we've talked since then, and just met with him and David and those guys. So there's no hard feelings there. I mean, unfortunately, it is part of the business. I have a lot of respect for him, the organization, and I just the Nashville experience was fantastic. It was I love the city. I love the people I worked with, the people in the organization, the people I worked with every day. You're always disappointed. To me, that was probably what hurt the most, was just the relationships that you had with people that you're not gonna be able to be around anymore. But the positive side now is when you get back in, you have a great group of people that you're going to be able to get to know and work with and move forward.
That was new Minnesota Wild head coach John Hines, which feels a little bit weird to say. John Hines making his return to Nashville. The first road game in his role as the head coach of the Minnesota Wild is in Nashville. Appreciate Alex Doherty for tweeting that clip out. Willie, you were passing the media scrum. You said it was a pretty large crowd next to John Hines.
Yeah, I got a chance to see that. I was standing right behind Alex there when that was going on. So Minnesota has a very big media following. So they had a lot of people, and that's obviously everything right now for that franchise, trying to turn a season around that has not gone well at all. And then there was a big group of Nashville media that had a few questions, and that was a good one there, just kind of asking how it ended. We haven't really heard from John Hines, where, if you remember, it went well into May before they decided to part ways with John Hines. So it was really nice to hear that, in my opinion, John Hines showed the class that he did there. You never know if a guy's going to say, yeah, it was bitter, man. I thought I was going to be the coach. But he said, look, I understand. It was a good experience. Still talks with Barry Trotz, still talks with David Poyle. And that's how you build a good network. And now, of course, he's got a new gig, and he's got to move on. And
wow.
Yeah, a division rival.
Okay, 2 questions for you, Willie. Do you think, and I'm not saying that Trotz didn't or not, do you think he handled it the way he should have in regards to Hines? And then, now that he has a coaching job with the Minnesota Wild, how do you think he'd do on his second go-around?
Well, what John Hines said down there that I thought was interesting, he said the actual getting off of the merry-go-round and stepping away from the game for a few months, he thought did him a lot of good. He hasn't moved his family. He's got a wife and 3 daughters, 2 daughters. I'm not sure. But they have stayed here.
Wife and daughters.
Yeah, wife and daughters. Well put. And they're going to stay here for the whole rest of the school year, and then in the summer they'll decide if they're going to relocate, if things are going well with the Wild, et cetera. But it's a really good question. I don't know if maybe away from everybody, it's natural that he was disappointed, right? Not to get a chance to continue on, because I thought he did do a very good job, especially down the stretch of the season after Barry Trotz took over, of keeping the team in contention and helping bring along the young players that are such a big part of where this franchise goes from here. So he also mentioned, this is the second part of your question, Derek. He's taken over the Wild, who are a team that has really underachieved. And it was sort of, we don't think, we can't change the roster. They're up against the cap. We've just got to try something else. So here comes John Hines
and this is a
to
very
try to
fire
bring
the
him
coach
back.
League.
Oh,
They're quick to fire the coach in the NHL.
Especially when it's so hard to in the salary cap to revamp your roster by making a huge trade, right? It's hard to make even like a 3-for-3 swap to shake it up. It's very difficult to find a trade partner who has the same match with you, because everybody's up against the cap. They don't have much flexibility. You've got a lot of term on these contracts. I'll be interested to hear what Elliott says when we talk to him about it. But John Hines said, I think I learned a lot about taking over for Peter Laviolette in January of 2020. Now think about how tough that was. That was a team that was coming off of big wins, right? That was a winning franchise that was thinking they were going to stay in the championship level, and they weren't there, and he comes in and has to try to fix it. That's kind of, he said that experience will help him with this experience for the Wild here. And, of course, it couldn't have been tougher for Nashville, because after 2 months of trying to get things in order and try to get your own system in there, trying to get them back on the right track. COVID hits, and the season stops. So that was a huge challenge. But through those experiences, you feel like you get stronger. So let's see how he does against the Wild. And the Wild are in a big hole. They're going to have to play really, really well to get back to the playoffs, but they clearly have a better team than their record right now.
7-game losing streak for the Minnesota Wild, which is ultimately why they parted ways with their coach.
Yep, and they won the first game 2 nights ago at home against St. Louis. So they're off on the right foot, so they have a more positive feeling coming into this game.
What do you think it was? Because obviously that's who the Predators play tonight, the Minnesota Wild. So I'm sure you've sat back and watched this team some. What is it about them? You believe they have the personnel, but they just haven't been able to crank out wins.
Yeah, it's part of the reason, and this is I'm sure Elliot will go here when we ask him, but the big glaring thing is their goalies haven't been nearly as sharp as they have in the past. In fact, their starting goalie, Philip Gustafson.
Ooh, they're giving up almost 4 goals a game.
Yeah, which is very unwild-like. They've usually been a team that doesn't score a ton, but plays really good defense, has good goaltending, and that's how they win. And I think that's what John Hines is trying to reestablish. That's the identity of their team. They're a tough, physical, hard-nosed team that makes it tough to score against. And like you said, they're giving up way more goals than they have been the last few years, and it's really puzzled everybody there. So that's probably in a nutshell what's happened. And then they've got a couple of top-level players that they lean on for offense. It was kind of like we talked about last year. Forsberg and Duchesne had the 40-plus goal seasons 2 years ago, and that's where John Hines sometimes you lose in the shuffle. That was the second-best offensive output they've ever had as a franchise that one year where they had Jeannot scoring goals.
Goal scorer from Matt Duchesne.
Yeah, the record, Forsberg and Duchesne were in the battle. Nobody had ever gotten to 40. They both got well over 40. And then last year it wasn't the same, and then the coach doesn't look as smart.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of what happened to the Wild. Kirill Kaprizov is the franchise offensive guy. He struggled. You're not getting saved from the goalie. And so all of a sudden Dean Evison doesn't look as smart as the coach. So sometimes you're kind of relying on, are the guys performing for you? So this is going to be – and you know what another interesting part of the plot line is? Andrew Burnett spent 15 or – I forget exactly how long, but as a player and as a front office person, huge amounts of time for the Wild organization. So it's an interesting swap here.
It is interesting. And back to the clip that we came in with John Hines asking about the hard feelings. And he said absolutely not. No hard feelings with Barry or with David Poyle. And John Hines is entitled to feel however he would like to feel. There's a lot that went on behind closed doors that I won't know about, that we won't know about. But I didn't feel like there was anything that was public knowledge that I know of that would elicit hard feelings. That Barry Trotz, ever from the beginning, when it's announced that he would take over when David Poyle retired, he said, look, I'm doing my evaluation. I don't know who's going to be here. He never said, oh, we love John. Of course we're going to hold on to John, and then just kind of swept the rug from underneath him and said, wait, no, just kidding, never mind, no, we're not. Barry Trotz was very open and honest from the beginning of maybe he's here, maybe he's not. We're going to take our time and we're going to do our evaluation. And I did think John Hines, because I saw the writing on the wall. I think a lot of Predators fans saw the writing on the wall. I'm sure John Hines saw the writing on the wall as well. Whenever you have a change in leadership, whenever you change general managers, that usually means the coach goes too.
Yeah, I think
Especially when the team misses the
in
playoffs.
my mind, I went from, well, he's going to be gone to by the end of the season going, well, he may have earned the right to come back. I don't know. And then for a couple months, we didn't know. It was, as the draft was coming up in Nashville, and Barry Trotz, he stayed consistent. He said, look, I haven't said, I said I needed to May, and so it's the end of May. Now what was happening too, this is the competitive part, I'm sure, of all coaches, but you had Andrew Burnett, who was being courted by several teams, right? His team that he was coaching, the Devils, made a pretty good deep run into the playoffs. So he was still coaching as an assistant while the Devils were trying to win. But in the background, you have a lot of teams going, wow, when Andrew Burnett comes available, we're gonna pick up the phone and call. And Barry Trotz had that relationship with Andrew Burnett going way, way back to the minor leagues when Andrew Burnett was a player and Barry Trotz was a young coach. So you had all that going on, but I'm sure John Hines is saying, okay, they chose Andrew Burnett over me. I'm going to show you now that I have another opportunity that I can coach too. So I wish John Hines well. I wish he wasn't in the same division as the Predators.
I wish him well. I wish him well until he plays the Predators.
Yeah, but it's going to be an interesting plot line going forward. And Caroline, I know you and I have talked about this. I wonder what the reception will be like tonight from the fans, because I think the media really respects John Hines and his accessibility. He could not have been more gracious today. He went and shook hands with everybody from Nashville that was there at the press conference, asked how his family's doing and everything like that. I think he really treated the media well here. I always felt like the fans never really gave him a lot of benefit of the doubt, especially because they were going through some struggles there. And they were going from being a team that was contending for a title to a team that was a little bit more overachieving to make the playoffs and weren't winning in the playoffs. So I hope as time goes by here that the fans give him some respect, going forward here.
And not very often do coaches get the benefit of the doubt at any level in any sport, which is why I do wonder, if and when Peter Laviolette comes back, I do think that he is met with cheers and, excitement, because Peter Laviolette brought this team to a point that it had never been before.
Oh, yeah.
When Ryan O'Reilly
And he's coming in Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It's like the ex-boyfriend tour of the Nashville Predators. When Ryan O'Reilly came back, it was nothing but cheers and excitement. I wonder what the response will be with John Hines, because he was here for a rather short period of time. He made it to the playoffs a couple of times with John Hines, but it didn't end on the peachiest note. I don't think it's going to be met with the same kind of cheers as maybe a Peter Laviolette or a Ryan O'Reilly or somebody like that. But I do wonder. I hope it's not booze for John Hines' sake, but I do wonder how the fans feel with, reuniting with a coach like John Hines and the history that he has with this team.
They're classy.
Are they?
I think Pred fans are classy, so I'm throwing that out there, Pred fans.
This is a fan base that tells opposing goaltenders that they suck.
Well, they can do that. Yeah. They can do that.
Yeah.
It's a boisterous bunch.
Exactly.
I do remember when Barry Trotz came back for the first time. It was really emotional.
Yeah.
It was really, and I think
sure.
I think the fans were ready for something new, but at the same time they still loved Barry Trotz. And man, Barry Trotz he'll be the first to tell you, he was really emotional on that night when he brought Washington in, and it was a great game. But man, that was a goosebumps kind of moment. I don't know if we'll see that tonight, because when you go from a franchise that is the standard is to win playoff series and try to compete for a championship, and that was the one thing John Hines didn't do. They didn't win a playoff series while he was there. They did make the postseason 3 out of the 4 years that he was the coach. And so when you remove that, his winning percentage, not bad. And if you really look at the expectation level from the league, I don't think anybody thought they were going to make the playoffs in the COVID season. Not the season he took over, but the 2 first full seasons he had. The shortened season where they had the weird alignment where they played the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round. I don't think anybody thought they were coming out of that division to make the playoffs. They made a great run to make it. And then the following year, nobody predicted them to make the playoffs. They made it, but both years they lost to really tough powerhouse teams in the first round. And it just, when you compare it to, hey, we might win this thing, that probably just fell short of expectations for the coach. So he got caught in that cycle there. And so I think what he did do sometimes is a little bit overlooked.
We'll continue the conversation coming up next. What to expect from the Predators tonight on a 6-game winning streak? Can you make it a 7th? And what do you need to see from the Preds to make that a 7th win in a row? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Hey, make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Just over 2 weeks ago, you're in here where we're talking about, a 4 or 5 game losing streak there. Is it surprising how quickly things have turned around to this degree?
No, not really. I mean, I think we felt, we kind of beat ourselves in a couple of those games. And I think we didn't play very well on the road the last 2 games, and those were probably our 2 worst, at least in my opinion. And we came back and we thought if we can turn it on for one game, we'd find the cure. And unfortunately, in any sport, but the hockey gods don't usually let you off the hook. They make you go through the mud a little bit to find the appreciation of how hard it is to win. So I think we learned a little bit of that lesson, and then we got rewarded for the things we've been doing most of the year. And we got to keep building. It's nice to be 1 over, but we got a busy week here.
That was Predators head coach Andrew Burnett. They went from a 5-game losing streak. You're 5-10 on the season, dejected from losing so many games that you had the possibility to win. And then here you are on a 6-game winning streak with an opportunity to make it 7 tonight as the Predators host the Minnesota Wild. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. We're live out here at Pete and Terry's Tavern, and it is popping in here.
Yeah,
it's
is.
a party in here. So if you need a place to come out before the game, even if it is 6 hours before puck drop, come hang out at Pete and Terry's Tavern.
You can get a little challenge going with the cornhole going on outside today.
Heated battle of cornhole going
Heated
on
battle.
Heated. Yeah, heated. We might throw some bows here pretty soon. Got to be careful. Willie, I do wonder, because the team looked good, even in games that they've lost. They were producing offense. You're getting a ton of production from Philip Forsberg. We talked about it yesterday. This might be the hottest streak of Philip Forsberg's career, and that's saying something. There have been some pretty hot streaks in there. Even if you don't get as high of production from Philip Forsberg at some point in time, because we've seen it with Philip Forsberg, he can be streaky. How much of this, of continuing this winning streak, and even if it's not a streak, but a pattern of winning, kind of rides and dies with UC Saros?
I think he's a big part of the equation, and I think it's been notable that through a quarter of the season, UC Saros at a 900 save percentage, and he was well below 900 for a while, and you're still at 11-10. I think you feel like there's a pretty good likelihood that save percentage is going to go up, even though goaltending these days has been tough. The league is trying to encourage offense, get offense going. There's some really good young players and talent right now. So the average save percentage has come down. Like 9-10 today is a lot different, a lot better than 9-10, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's tougher because more goals are being scored. And more specifically, I think teams are now taking the approach of let's not just see how many shots we can get. Let's make sure we get quality shots. We know the types of shots that are more dangerous. And so let's just not take the easy shot from the outside and see if the guy can glove it down, because the stats will show you those almost never, ever go in. I mean, on the odd time, the goalie could give up a softie, but you see what I'm saying? It's like this is where analytics have come in a little bit. So the higher quality of the shot, the tougher it is for the goalie, and the tougher it is to have a high save percentage. But all that being said, UC Saros tends to get better as the season goes on. So I think that's an encouraging part of where the season is going. But there's still challenges. Andrew Burnett was saying, look, we're going to face a real urgent team tonight, a hungry team that's trying to get back in it, trying to make a good impression on a new coach. And they have to try to match that hunger and intensity. You can't get complacent at all, even though you've played well here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. But I think this sets up for, because of the Minnesota Wild's woes at the goalie position, I think because of the type of play that the Predators, find themselves in or that they employ, I think it should lead to more goals in this game. The up-tempo, they're always being aggressive. It should lead to more goals, but, it doesn't happen that way every time. But you just hope with their deficiencies and the way the Preds are playing, over the last 6 or 7 games, you hope it leads to more goals for them.
Yeah, the Predators have been creeping up in their ranking offense for the last couple of weeks here. And so that'll be something I'm looking for tonight is can they continue to get that offensive production, which is getting close to the top 10 in the league here. And then that's saying something because they struggled last year in that area. But what are we going to see from the Wild? Can they get back to their real tough, hard-nosed, physical game where it is tough to score? I've seen a lot of Predators Wild games that are 2-1, 1-0 in the third period. Space is hard to find out there.
Iowa Hawkeyes hockey.
Iowa Hawkeyes hockey, no question. Now, Iowa is the affiliate, I think, of the Wild for AHL. So
that might make sense.
yeah, that might make some sense. Yeah. So what kind of style do we see tonight? That'll be something to look for. And here's the other thing: the Predators are now, and we'll talk to Elliot about this. I think they were flying under the radar. Andrew Burnett was asked this the other day when Pittsburgh was here, and they said, do you think you were sneaking up on some people? Do you think people are noticing you? He goes, not yet. He goes, I still think other teams look at our roster and say we should beat the Predators because of where they are. And the Predators, I think, have surprised a few people here.
And that might be an advantage for the Predators.
And so that's my point.
Yeah.
Is now you're playing the Wild. You look at the two teams' records and you're saying, oh, Nashville might actually be the favorite here. When really before the season, the Wild were the team that's supposed to be automatically in the playoffs, and the Predators not so much. So I'm wondering, as they continue to have more success, are they going to get the attention of the other team a little bit more?
We'll run that by Elliot Friedman.
Yeah.
He will join us coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, which today is Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. The Predators welcoming back John Hines and his first road trip as the head coach of the Minnesota Wild. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. Pregame coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock. Joining us now is Sportsnet and 32 Thoughts podcast, Elliot Friedman. Elliot, appreciate you for joining us and appreciate you for making this program feel like celebrities in the hockey world, getting us a shout out on the 32 Thoughts podcast a couple of weeks ago, and of course giving Willy a much deserved shout out on your 32 Thoughts article that just came out a couple days ago. Elliot, appreciate you for joining us.
My pleasure. I was glad to do it. And I have to say, Willie, I got some texts from people saying they like the idea. We'll see if it goes anywhere. Most of the stuff I put in my column, people roll their eyes and just throw it into the trash bin. But we'll see if this one goes anywhere.
Can we call it the Donick rule?
The Donick rule. Oh, yes.
I definitely will. Like, if it goes in, it's the Donick. Like, somebody, like, Toronto, I think, leads the league in too many men penalties. And if they get one against the Predators and Andrew Burnett says the best penalty killer, like T.J. Brody, you're going to serve it, we'll just say Toronto got Donicked.
That's right. That's right.
You just got done.
There's going to be T-shirts and everything.
Willy is making his mark on the hockey world. And Elliot, the Predators are absolutely red hot on a 6-game winning streak. Philip Forsberg might be on the hottest streak of his career. UC Saros is now playing like a vintage UC Saros. How sustainable do you think this style of hockey and this win streak is for the Predators?
Well, you know what? I think any time, like I don't know if I would say it's sustainable, but the one thing I've noticed about your team this year, Carolyn, it's very streaky. Like, they go through phases where they look really good, and they go through phases where things haven't looked. I mean, I think the last time we spoke, they were in like 30th or 31st place, right? But so what it says to me is it's still a team that's finding its way. That, you have lots of good players in your lineup. You have some other guys who are finding their footing. You still have some holes here and there, but the one thing I really noticed is that they are, like, Saros is getting back. You'll remember at the beginning of the year, he was really struggling and you guys were worried about him. Like, that has gone away. I just think that I like the fact they're competing. Like, when I watch the Predators, I think on most nights they play really hard. And I think if you're like that, you can control a lot of other things. But, I bet that, while you're enjoying the ride right now, you just got to avoid the valleys. And there have been a couple of valleys this year, and you got to make sure those don't happen again.
What do you think that is? Is that a product of new coach, new system, young players, all of the above?
I think it's the number one thing I think it is that you guys are plugging. Well, at the beginning of the year, I thought, it was like just Saros wasn't to his level. And if he's not to his level, it's always going to be tough. Mm-hmm. But the second thing I think is, look, last year, at the end of last year, you had some young guys who really took off. But it's a big difference. I think the hardest thing for a young player in the league, Carolyn, is to be good every night. Like, this is a hard league. It's tough. It's competitive. People are trying to run over you all the time. Nobody's going to play 82 good games. Like, you're going to have a few games a year where you're just not at your best. But can you get to 70 really good games? Can you get to 75 really good games? And I think it's a really hard thing to do. Like, one of the guys we've talked about is Parsonen. Like, Parsonen now is understanding what it's like to play against the best in the league every night at a very important position. And it's really a hard thing to do. So I think that's what it is. Like, anytime you have more and more young players being asked to move up a lineup and take bigger roles, there's going to be nights where they're just not going to be as good as they can be. And you have to limit those. And I think all these young guys, like Evangelista, I loved his quote the other day where someone asked him about getting the second in rookie scoring, and he goes, I don't even want to talk about it because I've had bad nights. Like, I think that to me is a player who understands how hard this is
And I think these guys are going to get there, and I think they're going to be better off for it, but it's harder than you think.
We'll talk with Elliot Freeman. You can listen to his podcast, the 32 Thoughts podcast, on your platforms. Now, Elliot, Philip Forsberg, we spoke on him yesterday and the season that he's having. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Willie and Caroline. Do you believe he's having the best start of a season of his career, or this stretch he's been on? Do you think it's the best stretch he's had in his career?
I don't know that I would say that yet. I mean, he looks dynamite. But, like, I remember a couple years ago when he had that 42-goal year. Like, I remember watching him that season. I was like, Derek, holy smokes! Like, who's going to stop this guy? And he's getting there. I mean, the only reason I won't say yes is because I like to see it done for longer than 21 games. And, someone's going to run to Forsberg and say that. He's going to think that guy up in Toronto, what a jerk-off for saying that kind of thing. But, I look at what he did for 69 games 2 years ago, and I'm like, to in this day and age, to score 42 goals and have 84 points the way Forsberg plays, that's impressive. That's really impressive. So my answer is not yet. It could be. I just want to see it go longer. But I think the thing is that, like, if Forsberg doesn't score, you guys are really going to have, I think, a much tougher time scoring. And I really admire the way he's come out to start the year. I would say that.
Now, I got a question about Coach Hines. Now, he's coming back into Bridgestone for the first time, leading Minnesota Wild, who they're not doing well this season, but it's still early on. You hear in other sports where coaches, they're very, very particular on jobs that they take. They may hold out a little bit longer because they don't want to take that necessary job that's available, because it may not be a good job to take, and you may find yourself on the streets a little bit, earlier than what you thought.
Yes.
Do coaches think that way in hockey? And I'm asking because, Hines takes his job after, what happened here in Nashville. And, whether you liked him or not, I think he did the best job he could possibly do under the circumstances, especially last year. But you're taking over a Minnesota Wild team that is struggling, and they're struggling at one of the most important positions, and that's goalie. So do coaches think, in regards to, is this the right job to take or not?
Derek, they do, but I think what really happens is the question comes down to, do you have leverage, right? It's like almost any negotiation or almost any decision we all make in life. Do you have the leverage to afford to be picky or be choosy? And, I think the thing is with John Hines is that, I don't necessarily think it's his fault. It's just the reality of the situation. This is his third head coaching job in the NHL. There's a lot of guys who don't get 3 chances. There's a lot of guys who don't get 4 chances. And, the one thing is, and first of all, I'll say this, like whenever I spoke to John Hines about Nashville, he had nothing but great things to say about it. Like people, and I've told you this before, people love Nashville. So that's the first thing I say. Now, John Hines at the beginning of this year, he's working as a consultant with San Jose. There were some rumors that maybe he'd end up with the Islanders if they made a coaching change. But like I said, there's not a lot of guys who get a 3rd chance, and there's not a lot of guys who get a 4th chance. And I think all of those things you brought up about Minnesota struggling are true. But I think the thing that really, really tips the scales for Hines in this case is that he knows the GM really well. Him and Bill Guerin, the GM of the Wild, they have a long history together, a very long history together. And I think there are times where you're sitting there and saying, how many more chances will I get? You're going to tip in the direction of somebody who you know and you trust. And I think that's exactly what happened in this case here. He's saying, I have a comfort level with Bill Guerin. I know this guy. I know, not that he was treated unfairly anywhere else, but I know I will be treated fairly by him. And I like the relationship, and I think Derek, in this particular case, that played a very big role.
Elliot, I know what gets circulated a lot when a team makes a coaching change is the old adage, well, the first thing you look at, as Derek just alluded to, you look at the goaltender's save percentage and numbers and say, there's where your coaching went wrong. And it does seem like it's true to a degree, and that there's got to be part of that was true in this case.
Yes, there's a stat. There's a stat out there. It's like one of the hockey's advanced stats. It's basically expected goals above or below average. And what it means is, like, every team has a goal differential. You score this many goals, you give up that many goals. The higher the positive differential, obviously, the better team you're going to be. Now, there's also this thing called expected goals. And basically what that is they look at the quality of chances you give up and the quality of chances you get. And they basically say, this is how many goals you should be scoring, and this is how many goals you should be giving up. And based on those numbers, Edmonton is, I think, 24 goals worse than they should be, and Minnesota is 20. And they're the two worst teams in the league at that number. And that's a private stat that teams keep. There is some public domain discussion about it, but it's not like the teams are really quiet about it. But the public information indicates that Minnesota and Edmonton are the two worst teams this year at where they should be in goal differential compared to where they are. And that is two things, it could be three things. Number one, your goaltending is terrible. Number two, you're bleeding high-quality chances. And number three, for whatever reason, you can't score. Like, those are the three reasons it happens. And in Minnesota's case, the goaltending has been a big issue, particularly when killing penalties. They have been bleeding goals, killing penalties, and it's a huge problem for them. And, Alain Vigneault, who coached a whole bunch of teams, he used to have a great saying that I always remember, and he would always say it because, he's French, and he would kind of, butcher the English language a bit. He would say, if my goaler is better than your goaler, I win. And if your goaler is better than my goaler, you win. And sometimes you can simply reduce hockey to that. And this is one of those cases.
Remember a couple of weeks ago, I was asking you about Corey Perry and putting him on the list of villains. There's certainly been a lot of drama there since then. But, Elliot, I'm just curious, when you follow a story like that where a team is in a position where they probably would benefit from being transparent to a degree, but they have privacy issues that keep them from doing that, especially in a sensitive market like Chicago. You have a big media throng, and you have a controversial thing that happened before. What do you think of how all that went down the last few days?
Well, there's two things, first of all, I think about Willy. Number one is I always try to treat other people like I would want to be treated. So, that's number one. And number two, you can't be wrong. It's bad enough sometimes I get a trade wrong or I put a rumor out there. That's not true. That's bad. But this is real life, and you have to be careful about it. Now, I think there's a couple of things at play here. When Kyle Davidson met with the players on Tuesday morning to inform them that they were going to terminate Corey Perry's contract, he told the players, we cannot afford any bad behavior here. We can't afford any incidents because of what they went through in the fallout with the Kyle Beach situation. And I think that that's actually one of the big storylines that's still to come, guys, is that teams and players and agents, they're trying to find out what exactly happened because when Shane Pinto was suspended for gambling, there's a lot of hockey players who gamble. Not on hockey. They're not allowed to. You can get banned for life for that. But they gamble on other things. And they were calling around and asking for information. What do I have to know not to do so I don't get this suspension? And what the Players Association did was they said, look, we're not telling you exactly happened with Shane Pinto, but we're going to tell you not to do this, and this. And they appreciated that knowledge. And the same thing is happening now. They want to know exactly what happened here so that no other player does it and, can have a contract terminated. And one of the questions a lot of people are asking is, and I don't know the answer, but I know it's being asked, is this something that Chicago is saying maybe this is not as big a deal as another organization would find it, but we have to see it as a big deal because of what we've been through. So that's, and again, I'm not trying to minimize anything. I don't know exactly what occurred. I think there's definitely still some holes on what I've heard, but I'm not trying to minimize it in any way. At this point in time, there's nothing criminal here. So, but I think that's one of the questions that's getting asked. Where I thought it really got out of control was with the rumors about a teammate's family. And I understand sometimes in that situation, your lawyers or your HR people, they tell you don't say a word until the investigation is complete. I get it. But on another hand, you've got to have some kind of strategy where you can say to someone or get the message out there that, they waited basically 2 or 3 days to address the rumors that were going around, and that was just too long. It was too long. There had to be a strategy for, we have to combat this. And, I always say to young people getting into the business that when you get into sports media, you're a public figure. And you're going to get a lot of criticism. And some of it will be fair because you make a mistake or you have a bad day on the air and you just have to eat that. But some of it, people are going to say things to you or believe things about you that they wouldn't have the guts to say to your face, or you can't believe that anybody would say that about you. And sometimes it's about your appearance. Sometimes it's about your background. Like, a lot of it's disgusting, obviously. And I think it shouldn't happen, but it does. And I think if you're a public figure, you have to accept that that's going to occur from time to time. What I didn't like here was that it happened to a private figure. And I thought something had to be done a day or 2 or 3 sooner to get out there and stop the message before it got as out of control as it did.
Derek asked a really interesting question on the show the other day, him being a former player rep in the NFL, and he said, if you're going to terminate somebody's contract, there's a process, right? Yes. I haven't heard anything. Is Corey Perry going to fight this at all, or is he just going to accept the termination here?
Well, it's a great question, Derek, and I'll explain how it works in the NHL. So from the day that like you can always terminate a contract, the question, which Chicago did, but the question is, if the player grieves it, can you win? So from yesterday, when his contract cleared, Corey Perry has 60 days to decide if he wants to grieve it. Now, I'll give you, there have been a lot of cases where players have won grievances like this, or there have been settlements. Mike Richards, a player, he was terminated by the LA Kings, and there was a settlement. Evander Kane was terminated by the Sharks, and there was a settlement. We'll see if that happens here. But there was a player 4 years ago named Patrick Berglund who was terminated by the Buffalo Sabres, and the NHLPA wanted to fight it, but Berglund wanted no part of it. He was like, no, I'm done. I don't want – and it was I think it was $12 million. He said, no, I'm done. I just want out of here. And so it comes down to, what does the player want to do as opposed to what the players' union wants to do. I think the other thing we're trying to figure out here is, I think we'll hear from Perry at some point. I think he will release a statement at some point. But I think the thing everybody's trying to find out here is, what exactly happened? Will he be able to resume his career somewhere else? And Derek, it's a $4 million salary. He already got $2 million of it in the summer as a signing bonus. So let's just say, for argument's sake, does he sign somewhere else for say $800,000, and they make a deal where Chicago pays him what was left minus what he signs for, or do they just fight the grievance? He has 60 days to decide.
And that's what I wondered. Maybe he could just be waiting on whether he's with another team or not, and if he's with another team, then he's just going to forget about it. But if he's not, then you fight it. But I always look at the guys that that potentially can go through the same thing that he's going through. The PA is fighting that for him, but you're also fighting it for other guys that may be in this position.
Yes, and that is exactly it. That is exactly it, and that is their responsibility as a players' association. But I remember with that one with Patrick Berglund in 2018-19. I remember I heard behind the scenes, like, the player kept on saying no, 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 and the players' association was like, we really want to fight this, we have to fight it. But if the player says no, there's really, they felt there was nothing they could do.
All right, Elliot, before we let you go, another one of the top 5 all-time receiving boos from Nashville fans would be Patrick Kane, and now he's got a new home for Detroit. What version of Patrick Kane are we going to see here with the injury that he had, et cetera? Because it sounds like a really exciting story, but the Red Wings have to feel like he can still be some semblance of a game breaker.
Well, I think he'll be better than he was last year. Like, if you heard him talk yesterday, and I know he was on with TNT, and I watched his media conference that he had with a regular group of media, it's pretty clear he feels he can move a lot better than last season. Like, I'm not expecting him to be a 97-point scorer again, but I do think he will move better than he did last year. The other thing too is, like, Yzerman, the GM, Steve Yzerman of the Red Wings, is one of the greatest players ever. And I really felt, and I know there were teams, like, Kane was seating not far from me, where I live, and we weren't really allowed to go in there, but I know teams went to go see him. And I just have to think Steve Yzerman, being the great player he was, and I know he met with him face to face, I just don't think he takes a chance on him unless he thinks there's something there. And like I said, I'm not expecting what he was 3-4 years ago, but I think better than last year, and I think Detroit feels that can help him.
Elliot Friedman, appreciate you as always. We look forward to maybe yet another shout out on your next podcast.
Well, you got to come up with a good idea, Caroline.
I'm thinking now it's a
you don't just
thing.
shout at anybody. You got to come up with something good.
I get a taste of fame, and now I'm addicted to it.
You're framing it now. We'll see. We'll see. I am open to bribery. I just want to let you guys know.
I'll call you after the show. We'll chat. Elliot, appreciate you as always. Thanks for your time.
Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks, Elliot. Appreciate you. Elliot Friedman, he is the very best. Join the Chase and Big Joe show live from the NASCAR Awards tomorrow at the Music City Center, brought to you by Green Trees Company Dispensary, providing high-quality legal THC products. Learn more at thegreentreescompany.com.
Did you change the heading on the first topic of the day, or are you still sticking with that?
No, I'm sticking with it.
Vol stink?
Yeah, they're not good.
Oh, come on. We have to start with an argument today? We can start with an argument today.
Okay, well, I guess we could define good. Are they good enough to be a factor in the SEC in the regular season? Sure. Are they going to do anything tournament-wise? No, they're not.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
Because of last night?
Every bit of history tells me that. I do know that. Well, I know that as we sit here today, November 30th, they will not be there past the second weekend. I guarantee you.
Okay. You know they won't be in the Final Four? Okay. I mean, that's not that bold of a statement.
They won't be in the Elite Eight. They won't be in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
There you go.
They just made the Sweet 16. They just made the Sweet 16.
They will not be there.
They beat Duke and made the Sweet 16. Okay. All right. Okay. I'd like you to save this, please.
Save it.
Save it. They don't stink.
Sat down last night. I was watching North Carolina, Tennessee basketball, which, let me say, those two teams, that might be the sexiest uniform matchup I've ever seen. Tennessee's orange uniforms with North Carolina's baby blues. It was nice. It was at least aesthetically pleasing in the basketball sense of things. It was not. It was brutal from Tennessee last night, at least in the first half. The first half ended North Carolina up 61-39. Robbie, jaded Vol fan, he's been around the block. He knows what to expect. He says the Vols stink. He says the Vols aren't going to the Sweet 16. Joe says you're being dramatic. They're a good team. Don't say they stink. Where do we lie?
Well,
whose side are we on?
This is the new world of college basketball, where last year, like let's take North Carolina last year. They were a total mess.
They were a mess.
They've got some of the same guys. How old is Armando Baycott?
My age.
He's been around forever. And then they got this other guy that just came in. I got to figure out who this guy is. I think it's, Harrison Ingram. He's played for Stanford, and didn't he go to Notre Dame at one point too? I think this North Carolina is his third school, and I think he's like 37 years old.
It's the NIL Tour of 2023,
Yes.
Billy.
Yeah, you still have the COVID rules applying, so you have these crazy rosters right now. It's insane. So how in the world would anybody know what their team's going to look like in November, even if you've watched them play a few times? Look, I'm still holding out hope that Vanderbilt can make something better than what they've done before, because they've got a hodgepodge of freshmen, new players, transfers, guys they brought back from last year, and they are not gelling at all. They don't look very good most nights, and they've got a lot of work to do. I still think I see enough talent to where if they can get it together quick, and they have shown in the past, Jerry Stackhouse's teams, this has been a flaw. They've had very slow starts, and by the time they get it going, it's too late to really salvage the season. So they got to get on it now. I thought it was so disappointing last night. But Tennessee's the same way. You go down their roster, they got a few guys that you recognize. You got Zakai Ziegler coming back from an ACL. You've got Santiago Vescovi, who's been around for about 25 years,
he
too.
He also is about 37.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him, with Vescovi.
So
and then you've got Dalton
early.
Connect, your big man, who went down last night. Looked like he sprained his ankle. He was in a ton of pain, it looked like.
And then you had the one guy that he ended up with 37 points.
Dalton Connect, that was him.
Yes.
I think it was the most points scored in a single half at North Carolina.
And then so here's another
saying
guy.
A lot. There's been some pretty good players
Here's
that
another
have come
guy.
through the Tar Heel
You know where he
program.
started, Derek? Where did he start his career? Dalton. You say Connect?
Connect.
Like Connect 4?
Dalton
Not
Connect.
spelled that way?
It is not spelled that way.
Was it at a Power 5?
No. Northern Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And this guy goes into North Carolina and scores 37. Now, my point is, how do we know what that team's going to look like in March? And then for Tennessee, you've got Robbie kind of echoing the frustration of all fans, where you feel like, for part of the season, hey, maybe they could break through Final Four. It's weird. It's tough for a coach when people are disappointed that you went to the Sweet 16 and beat Duke to get there. And people are like, not that bad year. Disappointing. Failure. What's going on? Terrible program. I can remember when they would have killed for a Sweet 16 and beating Duke in the tournament.
Yeah.
That would have been unbelievable. You could make a video about that. That's a 30 for 30.
I'm on Robbie's side.
See?
I'm on Robbie's side. The team doesn't
Can't please
stink,
anybody.
But
But it's a long season.
I feel confident in saying it today. Today, November 30th, the Tennessee Volunteers will not make it to the Sweet 16.
Ooh. Okay.
Book it. Write it down,
All right.
Nick.
I might be willing to challenge you guys.
Only thing they
Rick
need to
Barnes is going to Rick Barnes. They're going to look great in January and February. They're going to be hot. They're going to be one of the hottest teams to talk about. Everyone's talking about Tennessee. They get to the turn. 17, 4, 32.
There we go. I mean, it's such a long season, and we've seen this from teams before where, you see it from the Spartans. They're struggling at first, because of what Izzo loves to do. They played UT in sort of a scrimmage game, and that should have been a real game because that was a highly contested game. UT ended up winning, but I don't think it counted against the record. But it happens. The Spartans are not doing well at this particular moment. But I do believe that Izzo is a great coach that can coach his team to a Sweet 16. Now, will they win? I don't know, but I believe he can coach his team to a Sweet 16. We've seen teams that started off hot, and then once they get into conference play, they sort of fizzle out. So they got a good win versus Wisconsin, UT, Syracuse. I know they lost to Kentucky, Kansas,
Purdue,
which are
North
two.
Carolina.
North Carolina. Those are three pretty good teams.
So you're talking about three,
and none of them on your home court.
Yeah, three top 20 teams. That
but if you
more
can't
than
beat
likely,
a top 20 team, should you beat a top 20 team?
But it's early. It's too early in the season. Once they get into conference play, I think that's when you start determining whether teams are going to.
They're going to be fantastic
get into
in
the
conference
tournament.
play. They're going to be fantastic. That's what we do every year with Tennessee basketball.
Which
every
leads
year,
them into getting
Rick Barnes is the
into-
king of January. Santa Claus is the king of December. Rick Barnes is the king of January.
And who's the king of March?
Not Rick Barnes.
Izzo. Come on now. Hell,
I
you
knew
know
what you were
that.
going to say.
Exactly.
But you know what? Along those lines, to your point, Derek, this is, I was very critical of the committee last March, if you guys recall, about a certain team that I thought deserved to be in there.
Vanderbilt got snubbed.
And I had the receipts I was putting in there. But one of the things the committee has stuck by is your play in November is the same, is considered the same by the committee as your play in March or February. And if there's ever a time to rethink that, it's now with all the turnover in the roster. Coaches, I can tell you right now, the coaches right now are still trying to figure out, I got these freshmen coming in, who deserves to be in there, which guys are ready to help me right now. I got these three other guys that just transferred in. One of them's 28 years old. He came back, he's on his seventh team. How does he fit in our team? You can't put the pieces together before December 1st, right, let alone January 1st. So I think the committee should start weighing. You should almost start evaluating the teams a lot more when you get to January 1st, but I know they're not going to do that.
Well,
but it's messed up.
Yeah, because I think when you get in situations like this early in the season, listen, their three losses, each loss was less than, let's say, 3 possessions up the court. They lost to North Carolina by 6 points, 8 points, so it would have been 4 possessions.
It looked a lot uglier than
and
a
I'm
single-digit
sure,
point
exactly.
loss.
But they lost to Kansas by single digits. They lost to Purdue, who's a damn good basketball team, by single digits. To me, that tells me a team that eventually they have figured out. Now, how far they go in the tournament, I don't know. But when you can play teams, top-tier teams that close, everybody's working themselves into, sort of not necessarily playing game shape, but they're sort of working the kinks out.
Yeah.
That's why certain coaches like to, schedule hard competition because you get this barometer. Where are we? Izzo does it every year.
And it's a resume booster once you come to tournament time.
Izzo does it every year.
Oh, yeah.
He schedules these hard teams because he wants to get a barometer where his team is at. So when they do get into conference play, which is the Big Ten, which is the toughest conference, I believe, in basketball. But
slow your roll there, D-Mase.
But once you get into conference play, now you're ready. Now you're ready to go. the games outside of conference, yes, you want to win them. If they would have won one of those 3 games, at the end of the year, it looks better on their resume. Now, that may come back to haunt them in seeding purposes that they, lost to Purdue, Kansas, and North Carolina. That may hurt them, but at least Rick Barnes is getting a barometer of where his team is at. So when they do get an SEC play, you understand what your team can do and what they can't do.
Tennessee is a great team. They have a ton of talent. They have the big man now in Dalton Connect. They can. I've seen this. They're going to be a good team. Yeah. They're a well-coached team. One of the best defenses in college
basketball. They're going to play good defense. That's the one thing know they're going to do.
They did not do that last night, at least for a half.
They gave up 100.
Yeah. They gave about 100 points, and in the first half it was like 3, 3, 3, 3. And I'm thinking, my goodness, is anybody maybe going to play just a little bit of defense here? And I know that is early, but they're going to play good defense. Rick Barnes coach teams always do. They're generally, for the most part, very disciplined teams. They're good teams. They have a ton of talent. Can't do it in March. Cannot do it in March.
But what are the expectations of a Rick Barnes team this year? Are the expectations
pretty high
to get past the Sweet 16? So if they don't get, again, it's too early for me to say they won't make the Sweet 16. I know we can go back and say, well, Rick Barnes once he gets into the tournament. I understand that because we've seen it from different, just like Coach Cal will coach Cal eventually, and they will not get into the championship game or not get into the Elite Eight. But I just think it's too early. If we believe this is a good team, then allow it to play out.
They were a good team last year.
Yeah, I can't. But let's have this conversation in the middle of the season. And see
but this will be a theme.
Yeah.
Because they could go 28-0 from here until March, and you're still going to say the same thing.
I will stand pat. I will stand pat.
You're not moving off that mountain, huh?
It is the boy who cried wolf and the Rick Barnes who cried March. It's been burned too many times.
Come on over to Spartan Land. You won't get burned that many times. Come on over.
I went to a women's basketball school. Men's basketball is not our thing. What turns out when everybody can offer strong ass offers, you're not very good. All right, we got a Thursday night football matchup. Seahawks and Cowboys. Our friend Ali Melnicki from Zen Sports will join us to give us the best bets of the night. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Tomorrow, Robbie and Rex will be broadcasting live for the grand opening of a new Dunkin' location in Franklin at 1441 New Highway 96 West. 102.5 The Game will be on site from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Stop by and have your chance to win lots of great prizes. Cute cartoon. D-Mase, we're live out here at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators in action tonight. Puck drop at 7 o'clock against John Hines and the Minnesota Wild. But we've also got a Thursday night football game tonight. I feel like poor Jeff Bezos and Amazon have been getting the short end of the stick with some
poor
of
Jeff
these
Bezos. People say that all the time.
Yeah, poor Jeff.
And listen, you can't put the word poor and Jeff Bezos in the same conversation, okay?
Poor
same
Jeff
sentence.
Bezos.
You can't do it.
Getting no return on his
so
investment.
bad.
But we've got a good game tonight. Finally, a good game. Seahawks at the Dallas Cowboys. And joining us now, if we have her, Ali Melnicki of Zen Sports.
We're good to go.
All right. And joining us now is our friend Ali Melnicki of Zen Sports. Ali, we were just saying, finally, we get a good matchup on Thursday Night Football. Seahawks traveling to Dallas to take on Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Who do you like in this one?
It's hard to bet against Dallas right now. They've just been blowing out the competition in recent weeks. I know it hasn't been the biggest competition, Washington, my New York Giants, but they've been on a roll at home. I like them at home tonight. Seahawks have a history of struggling away from Seattle. Geno Smith hasn't looked like he was the comeback player of the year from last year. They really struggled in their Thursday night game last week against the Niners. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here.
My question for you that I have been deliberating, going back and forth in my mind about, how good are the Cowboys? I think I just might have, been maybe just a little bit jaded with the Cowboys in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that Eagles game, they could have easily won that game against the Eagles. Dak Prescott stepped out of bounds on that one play that should have been a 2-point conversion, I believe. I really think, and I'm saying this as a Giants fan, I don't think we've seen the best of the Cowboys yet, just because they have been playing mostly mediocre teams. But they were competitive with the Eagles, and I think they're actually going to be a scary team come the postseason.
Two of the favorites, anytime touchdown scorers tonight, Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. If you had to pick one, who are you picking to find the end zone tonight?
I'd probably go Tony Pollard. I like the ground game that they have going against Seattle. I'm going to go with Tony on this one. But I also, receiving-wise, Brandon Cooks has been hot lately. I'd take a look at him as well.
Now, another game here, the Broncos and Texans. Obviously, the Broncos and Sean Payton and Russ, they are on a tear now, rejuvenated that franchise, going against a very hot Texans team. I know they're coming off a close loss last week versus the Jaguars, but this is a hot team. Do you take Texans in the points? I think it's 3.5.
I love the Texans in this situation right here. I think they could have easily beat the Jaguars last week. You saw the missed field goal at the end of the game. I truly think the Texans are the best team in that division, even better than the Jaguars. The Broncos, they haven't faced in recent weeks an offense with the caliber that the Texans have. They beat teams like the Jets and whatnot. So I'm all for the Texans right here. I think C.J. Stroud is undeniably the rookie of the year offensively, and he's going to be a top 5 quarterback for the next decade.
Chargers, Patriots, over under, I think 40.5. Patriots are starting Zappy, I believe, this week. The Chargers, we know what their problems are. But would you take the over on this one?
Definitely not.
We had this conversation before, right? The unders have got to be hot, man. There's a lot of ugly-looking games out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Patriots, they couldn't even score against my Giants last week. I don't know how they're gonna be competitive with the Chargers on this one. And the Chargers, they themselves have had problems scoring. We just saw that Sunday night game. They really had a rough time with the Ravens defense. Not saying that the Patriots defense is of that caliber, but they're still a solid unit. So I'm going way under on that one.
Okay, when I think Seahawks, Cowboys, I think of one game. Do you guys know what I'm thinking of?
Seahawks, Cowboys, Tony Dorsett.
No,
that was against the Minnesota Vikings.
Tony would be part of the answer for a hint.
Romo.
Remember the playoff game where Tony Romo dropped the snap and tried to frantically run to the end zone on a playoff game that they should have won if they just kicked the field goal or whatever that was, extra point field goal?
Extra point.
Yeah. How about? I mean, that just popped into my mind. Do you guys remember that game?
No, I remember
Oh,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely do. Yes.
He was the placeholder, came in, then tried to run it. I think he tossed it in the air, and I don't even know.
It was a football follies. It was a football follies. So, Allie, you being a Giants fan, okay, that was Parcells coaching the Cowboys, right? So you must have had some mixed feelings there, or did you just hate the Cowboys?
I just hated the Cowboys.
So you were happy to see the bubbling. Yeah.
Anytime the Cowboys get embarrassed, it's a good day for me.
Oh, I get that. So, Allie, here we've got the Colts coming in. The Colts we've been talking about all week. How do you try to figure them out? Like, they're sitting there. They don't look like a great team on paper. They weren't supposed to be good, but if they win this game, they're very much in the playoff picture.
I think they've had a lot of nice victories, but not having Jonathan Taylor probably this Sunday is really going to hurt them. Gardner Minshew, I think he's one of the better backup QBs in this game, but the more you make him throw, he's going to be very interception prone. I think he has one of the worst interceptions rate in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So not having Jonathan Taylor to rely on, I think they're really going to struggle against Tennessee. And Tennessee playing at home at Nissan Stadium, I mean, they've been undefeated this year, so watch out.
Allie, appreciate you for joining us. I hope you can enjoy some Cowboy tears tonight, perhaps.
Thank you, guys. You too.
Thanks, Allie. Allie Milnicki of Zen Sports. Always appreciate her betting insight. That is going to do it for us today. The Predators back in action tonight at home, hosting John Hines and his homecoming with the Minnesota Wild. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6 on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game. Stillman and Company up next.
Be love and love on your people. Peace.